This is ABC7 News at 7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
The biggest issue is that they're going to overstate the problem, and they're going to use that as a pretext for passing legislation that suppresses people's votes or makes it harder for people to vote.
President Trump claims widespread fraud is the reason he lost the popular vote to Hillary Clinton in the 2016 election. That's why he launched a voting commission to collect sensitive voter data from the states. However, many are objecting to the request, and the commission itself is now facing legal challenges. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohn, and welcome to ABC 7 at 7. We'll have more on the President's Voting Commission coming up. But first, our top 7 stories at 7. They are the jewels of the Suncoast and the reason why traffic is so bad. Tonight, new efforts to find possible solutions to traffic and parking congestion on the barrier islands across the Suncoast. It's just the first stage in a 3-part study by the Florida Department of Transportation. Right now, potential ideas include creating alternative routes for busy intersections, adding parking garages, making some parking paid, improving bus schedules, and even adding a water taxi to get residents to the mainland. However, some people are skeptical about leaving the islands without their beloved cars.
I think it could be efficient, but I probably wouldn't use it just because of the inconvenience of having to leave my car over there and not having access to it unless I get a shuttle back.
Phase 2 includes observing and collecting data on traffic patterns on the islands. Phase 3 will be putting an actual plan into place that's expected to happen in the fall of 2018. An update on Sarasota's Lift Station 87 project. After being closed for nearly a year, the Osprey Bridge over the Hudson Bayou will reopen to traffic Friday afternoon. It's been closed as crews installed 2 micro tunnels for the lift station. The work was part of the project's first phase construction, which is expected to be completed by 2019. This year, the annual Thunder by the Bay was held in Lakewood Ranch. It was the first time in a decade the motorcycle rally was held outside of downtown Sarasota. Now, some city commissioners want to bring it back. Thunder by the Bay brings in an average $9 million in revenue. It is hosted by local charities and raises money for donations for the Suncoast Charities for Children. Last year, commissioners rejected a permit for the event, citing noise complaints and objections from some business owners. One new city commissioner says it is time to bring it back.
There were some feelings on the previous commission that were maybe hostile to the event, and the fact is it's a different commission.
Commissioners will meet with organizers within the month to discuss the future of the event. United Way Manatee and United Way Suncoast are merging to provide services across 5 counties. The 2 nonprofits have worked side by side for years, but under the merger, the umbrella organization of United Way Suncoast will oversee operations. No jobs will be lost. Staff from both agencies hope to build on the progress each has made individually.
In the same way, United Way Suncoast has had a lot of experience in financial stability work, helping families build assets, and we're looking forward to expanding programs in that area here in Manatee County.
United Way Suncoast is now serving DeSoto, Hillsborough, Pinellas, Sarasota, and Manatee counties. Each community retains its own area board, which will lead to local fundraising and community investment. Sarasota police are leading a warrant roundup, arresting more than 24 suspects wanted on mostly drug-related charges. 15 people are now under arrest. They faced a range of charges, including trafficking of cocaine, LSD, marijuana, and spice. Officers say they are still trying to locate one man, Khalid Polk, who is wanted for trafficking the deadly synthetic opioid fentanyl.
To be able to go out there and sell drugs is not something that we're going to tolerate in our community. Our community doesn't want to see it. We've got people dying, and it's becoming a health crisis.
Police say this is just part of an aggressive campaign to crack down on drug trafficking. We'll have more on the effort coming up tonight at 11. Now to Northport, where the fire chief is announcing plans to step down next year. Chief William Tafe says he will retire February 1st. He served as the fire chief and emergency management director for 15 years. The chief says he is announcing his plan now to give the department time to pick a successor. Sea turtles are swarming the Suncoast beaches for the nesting season, but it comes as visitors are also enjoying the summer sand. Unfortunately, the two don't always mix. Now, 3 turtles have been injured in just 1 week. All 3 were trying to nest when they became entangled in beach chairs left out overnight. One turtle was so tangled, it dragged an entire chair into the Gulf. Mote Marine says it has recorded 76 incidents between humans and sea turtles so far this year.
If they come up and get disoriented, they won't stay to lay their nest, and they'll go back in, and then they'll have to wait and find a better place, a better situation for them to nest in. So it's best to just kind of keep the beaches dark, quiet, and let the animals do what they need to do.
Mote Marine reminds you not to leave trash or furniture on the beach. Fill any holes you make in the sand, and don't use any bright lights on or near the shore. And Bob, it was not exactly beach weather for humans today.
Well, most of it in the morning was, in early afternoon. We did get the showers later on today, and it did wash out a lot of events. In fact, and it looks like we have some rain around still lingering, but the rain is light, and that's the story today. We had this easterly wind component, which really did not allow the sea breeze to set up, which has been doing it last couple of days. We've had 2-3 inches of rainfall totals the last couple of days. Today, a different story out there since it didn't have the convergence and the storms didn't stick around as long. The rainfall hasn't been as impressive. Now, you can see the rainfall amounts. So the heaviest, 1.3 up at Anna Maria, but you don't see any of the 3s or 4s that we had just 2 days ago. 3/100ths of an inch or 3/10ths of an inch there in northeast Venice. Currently, we have generally cloudy skies, some light rain still falling at the Sarasota-Braden Airport. The dew point is at 73 now, and the relative humidity at 94%. Winds are out of the east-northeast at 7. The pressure 30.08 inches, and we've cooled down. Again, the benefit of these storms is some cooler temperatures that have moved in, mid-70s now in Sarasota, Braden, and Venice, Englewood, Northport, and Punta Gorda, all into the mid-70s there. And looks as though we'll see a repeat performance tomorrow with this easterly wave moving by, a pretty good east wind, a healthy one at that. Will create some showers and storms, mainly in the late afternoon and evening, so most of the day will be okay. I know I was out there doing some lawn work and had no problems, except just a little bit on the hot side, and mosquitoes, the only bothersome part of it. The planner looks like this. By 11 o'clock, it'll be cloudy. The rain will be out in the Gulf, and most of the lightning is over, too, right now, so some good news on that front. All the lightning off in the Gulf of Mexico, unlike yesterday's bolt, which a lot of people talked about at 7:30. It was loud, rumbling, and everything else.
It shook the building.
It shook a lot of buildings. It sure did.
All right, thanks a lot, Bob. And still to come, your driver's license number, social security information, your signature. President Trump's voting commission is facing pushback for requesting that information and more from states. We'll take a closer look at the effort when we return.
Tomorrow at 4 on Suncoast View.
It's that itchy, scratchy time of year. I'm Stephanie Roberts on Suncoast View. We have had it with mosquitoes, so we asked our landscape expert to help us pick plants that will keep biting bugs away without chemicals. An international improv troupe joins us for some laughs and to help us kick off the Sarasota Improv Festival. Plus, a Hollywood director brings a project to Ringling, and C'est la vie in the kitchen.
Tomorrow at 4 on Suncoast View.
This is an important medical announcement. Bard IVC filters have been linked to punctured veins and problems with migration. Anyone who's received a Bard IVC filter must receive medical monitoring and may be entitled to substantial compensation. If you have the Bard Recovery G2 or G2 Express filter, you are in a class of patients who should be compensated for some expenses. Call now for a free assessment of your case and potential money damages. This call is confidential. There's no cost and you may be eligible. Juries have awarded millions of dollars to people who should have been warned about the risks of the Bard IVC filters. Call the IVC Filter Hotline if you or a loved one has received an IVC filter and experienced a vein puncture or required medical monitoring. You must call now.
Call 800-329-3089. 800-329-3089.
I'm Cindy Lou. I'm Susie. I'm Missy. And I'm Betty Jean. And we're the Marvelous Wonderettes. Mr. Sandman.
Experience the best girl group songs from the 50s and 60s live on stage at the Players Center July 12th through the 23rd. Call 941-365-2494 or visit us at theplayers.org. You'll fall in love with the marvelous Wonderettes.
I'm so alone.
This is your brain. This is drugs. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions?
Yeah, I have questions.
Prescription drugs aren't as bad as street drugs, right?
Weed's legal, isn't it?
Drinking is worse than smoking weed.
Isn't it? Why
is heroin so addictive?
Molly just makes you feel happy.
I have questions.
Mom?
Dad, did you ever try drugs?
They're going to ask. Be ready. Go to drugfree.org. A message from Partnership for Drug-Free Kids.
ABC7, your official Florida lottery station for the Suncoast.
Do you remember President Trump's unsubstantiated claim he would have won the popular vote if there weren't 3 million illegal immigrants voting for Hillary Clinton? He has never backed down from that, just the opposite. He appointed a voter fraud commission to investigate, and it wants your personal information. Kate Flexter joins us with more. Kate.
Well, thanks, Alan. This 15-member panel is charged with one task: to identify what they call vulnerabilities in the American election system. But some aren't convinced that's the sole purpose of this commission.
I received some phone calls and emails from voters with concerns, about the request.
Sarasota County Supervisor of Elections Ron Turner is referring to the Trump administration's request that every state provide voter data. It's a request that nearly every state has denied in one way or another. And on Thursday, Florida joined that list. The Secretary of State Ken Detzner sending this letter, which reads, quote, "We cannot fully comply with your entire request," stating that driver's license information and social security numbers cannot be released under Florida law.
The only thing that are not public in those voter records are your driver license number, your social security number, and your signature.
The president formed the panel after widespread claims that voter fraud cost him the popular vote. It's an effort that's now on hold while a federal judge in Washington decides whether the White House has done enough to protect Americans' privacy. But point person for the panel, Kansas Secretary of State Chris Kobach, says they're only requesting public information. That could include anything from a voter's name, address, birth date, political affiliation, criminal records, military service status, and partial social security number.
Whatever a person on the street can walk in and get, that's what we would like.
Under Florida law, much of that voter information is already public. A simple Google search turns up a person's name, party affiliation, and address.
All of this commission is asking for, in all of the myriad data points that they've requested, is public information.
It's something Detzner's letter points out as well, and reason why Republican Rod Thompson says the resistance is unwarranted.
This is one of those situations that has been blown up hysterically because it was the Trump administration that asked for it.
But Florida Democrats argue Detzner shouldn't fulfill any of the request.
I think all voters, regardless of whatever your political party is, should be concerned because the foundation of our democracy is our vote.
Vice Chair of Sarasota's Democratic Party, Kevin Griffith, points out that the panel has yet to disclose what the information will be used for.
It's different trying to collect one single national database in Washington, D.C. for the sole purpose of purging voters.
And worries it could be a stealth attempt at voter suppression.
The biggest issue is that they're going to overstate the problem, and they're going to use that as a pretext for passing legislation that suppresses people's votes or makes it harder for people to vote.
Arkansas is the only state to fully comply, although the White House says it will now delete that information.
Kate, thank you. Coming up, the supervisors of elections for both Sarasota and Manatee counties as we take it to the trapezoid.
This is an important medical announcement. Xarelto and Pradaxa have been linked to uncontrollable bleeding and even death. If you've been prescribed one of these drugs and have experienced these dangerous side effects, you may be entitled to substantial compensation. Studies show that Pradaxa can cause more heart attacks than warfarin, and other countries have already issued safety warnings against this drug. Call now for a free assessment of your case and potential money damages. The call is confidential. There's no cost, and you may be eligible. Juries have awarded millions of dollars to Pradaxa victims, and thousands of Xarelto victims are filing their legal cases. Call the Drug Watch hotline if you or a loved one used Xarelto or Pradaxa and experienced uncontrollable bleeding, brain hemorrhage, or even death. You must call now.
Call 800-747-0618. 800-747-0618.
When you are home alone, an emergency can become a tragedy. However, with any of Life Alert's 3 emergency systems, help can be summoned immediately, whether in the bathroom,
I've fallen in the shower.
at home,
Help! I've fallen and I can't get up.
and on the go.
Help! I've fallen in the park and I can't get up.
Don't worry, help is on the way.
Life Alert saves a life every 11 minutes.
For a free Life Alert brochure, call 1-800-518-0221. That's 1-800-518-0221. Call now, 1-800-518-0221. For a free brochure, call 1-800-518-0221.
All hands on deck. What's up? I want to point out 3 tips for using the home computer more safely. Point away.
First, stop. Make sure your software is up to date and that you've password protected your computer's login and Wi-Fi connection.
Next, think before visiting a site, opening attachments, or clicking on links.
Then connect, knowing you're helping make the web safer for you
and for everyone. Make Stop, Think, Connect part of your daily online routine.
Welcome back. What do they have to hide? President Trump tweeted after learning 44 states, including Florida, are refusing to give his voter fraud commission all the information that they wanted, including party affiliation, dates of birth, and driver license numbers. Now, faced with several lawsuits by civil liberties groups and a pending decision by a federal judge about whether the commission filed a required privacy impact statement, the President's Voter Fraud Commission is now telling states to hold on to that information and don't send it in for now. Joining us for more on voter fraud and elections are 2 people who know the topic quite well: Ron Turner, the Supervisor of Elections in Sarasota County, and Mike Bennett, the Supervisor of Elections in Manatee County. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. First question is the specific information that the commission was looking for, which includes partial Social Security numbers, driver's license informations, even voter party of affiliation. How would that lead investigators to finding out whether or not a registered voter is conducting fraud or not? Mike?
I got to be honest, I'm not 100% sure what they were going for on that, but only through the comparison of, for example, driver's license information with another state, they might be able to sort it out. But there are several systems around, for example, the ERIC systems being promoted, that if the state of Florida, which we're pushing for, supervised elections are pushing, would be a national database of registered voters. We know that there are truly millions of people who are registered in both states, but not for fraud purposes. Okay, I moved down here from Iowa. I didn't take my name off the Iowa list, and so for a short period of time I was registered in Iowa and Florida. Never voted up there, but it happened.
You mentioned earlier Steve Bannon.
Yep. Actually, it was Ron. Ron was dealing with Steve Bannon down here.
Yeah, in Sarasota County, that's back in January because Steve Bannon was registered in New York and in Sarasota. Now, in his case, he didn't vote in Sarasota County. He only voted in New York. We were able to remove him from the rolls after we received information from New York. But that's the case, as Supervisor Bennett said, often that individuals may forget to take themselves off the rolls in another state where they came from.
There are a lot of areas I want to get into, but I would imagine one of the problems are if you're dealing with the issue of whether people are registered to vote in multiple states for the reasons that you suggest, somebody could look at that and say, that's fraud, when there is an explanation for that. So doesn't that get down to different people could look at the same data and come to different conclusions?
Well, certainly. I mean, the fact that they're registered in two places, as far as I'm concerned, is not fraud. Fraud to me, to Mike Bennett, I'm not an attorney or a prosecutor, but there's got to be some kind of intent. We had a gentleman this year, we know, who voted in Manatee County, and he also voted in North Carolina. Difference was he was in his late to mid 90s, or mid to late 90s. To be quite honest with you, I don't think he even remembered filling out an absentee ballot here, and he got up to the nursing home there. The family came in and said, "Grandpa, you want to go vote?" And yeah, you know, and so that's not intent for fraud. And so I think some of these things get taken way out of context. I just don't think it's the case.
The types of information that that commission is looking for, the president, when he complained after the election about the popular vote, specifically said he believes that he would have won the popular vote if 3 million illegal immigrants were not counted in that. Would the information we're talking about go to determining that?
Well, I guess it depends on how, you know, they were going to use that information in the database, what they were going to compare it to. I mean, I don't think that we've heard that once they receive it, what exactly they're going to use it. What other database are they going to use? I mean, how would you come to that determination of someone's citizenship from, you know, that information, you know?
I think, I'm sure there were a lot of people prior to the Real ID law coming about that came to our country from someplace else. When they went down because of motor voter, they went in to get a driver's license, and the clerk asked them, "Do you want to vote?" Their first thing was half of them couldn't speak English maybe at the time, or were not understanding is, "Geez, I get an opportunity to vote? Yeah, I'd like to do that," okay? They didn't intend to commit fraud, and most of them, to be quite honest with you, probably didn't vote. With the Real ID law now, the officers are pretty darn good about checking out, is this a citizen of the United States or not? So I don't think that that's an issue. If it was an issue, if that's where he thought there was possibly votes, I'm sure it was from a long time ago.
All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll pick up the discussion right after we check the weather.
When it comes to drinking, what do you think moderation is? The U.S. Dietary Guidelines define moderation as up to 1 drink a day for women and up to 2 drinks a day for men. So what's a drink? The guidelines say a drink equals 12 ounces of beer, 5 ounces of wine, or a cocktail with 1.5 ounces of distilled spirits. Each contains the same amount of alcohol. Like to learn more? Visit drinkinmoderation.org.
You might feel like there's too many problems in the world, or that, you know, you as a 15-year-old, 16-year-old can't really make a difference.
It's not always about you. It's not just one person. It's a group. It's a team.
Just that simple act is transforming someone else's life.
It's one of the best feelings in the world.
It'll just make you feel so good about yourself.
I'd do anything to convince you just to be a part of this.
Are you a food lover, restaurant goer, or home cook? Then check out My Suncoast Dining on mysuncoast.com, your guide to the foodie lifestyle. ABC7's own Chef Judy serves up her favorite recipes, cooking tips and trends, dining blogs, and helpful step-by-step videos. And you'll love the restaurant guide with direct links to your favorite Suncoast eateries. Whether you're cooking in or dining out, whet your appetite with tasty tips from Chef Judy at mysuncoast.com/dining.
Thanks to my volunteer, I am a better eater.
Thanks to my volunteer, math seems simple now.
Thanks to my volunteer, I discovered new career goals.
I'm a volunteer for Sarasota County Schools, so I know I can make a difference. And you can too. Give an hour, change a life.
Because my parents told me I have to be responsible.
Because my first coach told me, you can do this.
Because my boss showed me how to do a good job.
Because my teacher helped me see the choices.
I'm swimming faster than I ever dreamed.
I am a valuable employee.
I discovered that I could work as an artist.
I will be whatever I want to be.
Youth with disabilities should grow up expecting to work and succeed. For more information, visit whatcanyoudocampaign.org.
Our discussion of President Trump's voting commission continues in a moment, but right now let's get a check on our weather from Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Well, beautiful photos sent in, and dramatic ones at that. This is Anna Maria. You can see the pier in the background there. Just ominous looking clouds as the storms were rolling in this afternoon. But the sun's still shining right there. Appreciate that. Scott Miller from Anna Maria sending that in. Van Wezel webcam looking out over Sarasota Bay, seeing that same kind of cloud formation move on in, dumped heavy rain and then light rain followed after. And the storm's moving pretty quickly, so we didn't get the 2 to 3 inches of rainfall that we've seen over the past couple of days in some areas. Now the rain is over. Orlando has had some showers on the East Coast, some rainfall. I know on my social media page, my Facebook page, at meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Alexis Elmore, who's 9 years old today, actually wrote in and complained a little bit about the rain in Orlando. She was at Disney expecting to have fun there. Rained a little bit too much, and also an outdoor party at Lakewood Ranch. I'm sorry, Alexis. I try to do as best I can when it comes to that. Palmetto and Braden getting some rainfall right now. Anna Maria Island, some showers as well down to Bayshore. By the way, happy birthday, Alexis. And some showers down south as well. We had some wind with some of the storms. Not very severe, but up to 42 miles an hour at a site at Fort DeSoto Park there in Pinellas County. And we'll see similar conditions again tomorrow. With that sea breeze being absent, the storms won't be nearly as intense as they have been. That's because that west coast breeze really gets inland, and then the east wind comes, and the storms really have a tendency to build much higher and generate more lightning, stronger winds, and heavier rainfall. And they don't move much either with that sea breeze kind of holding them off for a while. But with a steady east wind, they move pretty quickly through the area. And obviously we get some big downpours, but not the 2 to 3 inches. And currently we have 75 degrees, some light rainfall right now. The dew point is at 73. East to northeast winds at 7. The pressure 30.08 inches, falling ever so slightly but still high. And the 93 is high too. That's a hot temperature, 3 degrees above the average, 3 degrees shy of the record of 96. 0.3 of an inch of rainfall at the Sarasota Braden Airport. Doing pretty good for the year, and for the month we're still below average a little bit, but not much. We can make that up in just one afternoon storm. 86 in Jacksonville, 10 degrees cooler in Orlando now, and temperatures around the area. Benefits of these showers, much cooler, mid 70s to upper 70s, all the way from Highlands County to Manatee and Sarasota counties. The forecast tomorrow, similar I think tomorrow. High temperatures will be in the low 90s. We'll have showers late in the day, so most of the day should be fine. And then we'll see those quick moving showers head off toward the west. So tonight, clearing skies and temperatures pretty much where they are for lows, mid 70s. Tomorrow's highs will be in the low 90s. For boaters tomorrow, looks like this. Winds out of the east at 10 to 15 knots, and we'll have a moderate chop there. Other bays and inland waters, the water temperature at 88 degrees. It's been as high as 91 just a few days ago. Low tide 10:45 and a high at 4:37. Another low tide at 9:56. And some scattered storms winding down and then clearing after midnight somewhat, 75 for your low. Tomorrow, partly cloudy, as again, just as we had today for the most part. Fast-moving storms east to west. A little less chance on Friday. Back to normal on Saturday and Sunday. A little stronger cells moving in as well early next week. Alan will be back with his guests right after this.
Florida's coral reefs are declining. Bad news for our oceans and marine life. Fortunately, you can help, and you don't have to dive, you just have to drive. When you purchase Moat's Protect Our Reefs license plate, $25 goes directly to Moat Marine Laboratory, whose research, restoration, and conservation programs are helping this precious natural resource thrive once again. So get your Moat Protect Our Reefs license plate today. You just might hold the key to saving Florida's reefs.
My name is Julius. I have cerebral palsy. I work for Farmer Jeffrey Weising Law Firm. I do a lot of data entry and scanning documents. I want to increase my working experience to make the company much better. At the end of the day, it's good to think of the day's work and to think about what I have accomplished.
Hi, this is Dan Marino. When your business recruits people with disabilities, everybody wins. To find out how, go to abilitieswork.com. EmployFlorida.com.
Download ABC7's all-new official Suncoast weather app onto all your devices so you can stay informed wherever you go. With our full-featured all-new weather app, you can get weather alerts, interactive radar maps, current conditions, 10-day forecasts, traffic maps, and weather video from ABC7, all at your fingertips. And it's free. ABC7's all-new official Suncoast weather app, sponsored by Mr. Sparky. Just search Suncoast WX in the App Store and download yours today.
It's summer on the Suncoast, and you know what that means.
It's Friday Fest season, and you're invited. Hi, I'm Ray Collins.
And I'm Jacqueline Matter. Join ABC7 at the Van Wezel on July 21st when Kettle of Fish takes the stage to perform their high-energy mix of blues, soul, and funk.
We'll be there. Join us for great food, friends, and fun.
For more information, call this number.
Or go to mysuncoast.com/FridayFest.
Presented by Gettle Automotive and Cool Today.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we are discussing President Trump's Election Fraud Commission and his unfounded claim of widespread fraud in November's election. Our guests tonight are Ron Turner, Sarasota Supervisor of Election, and Mike Bennett, Manatee's Supervisor of Election. I guess, you know, you folks are responsible for Manatee and Sarasota counties, but when the president says 3 million illegals voted, in your professional opinions, how likely is that?
My professional opinion? I think it's highly unlikely. Do I think there was some people who voted illegally? Yeah. Do I think it was 3 million? No. Do I think that every one of them voted Republican or Democrat? No. I think that, you know, we're doing the best we can, and I think that this kind of a commission, anything that investigates to make sure that the vote is protected and it's a clean election, I think it's probably pretty good.
You did mention the concern over a motor voter, and that the way it may have worked is that you may have undocumented aliens who have inadvertently registered to vote because of that. And that plays to the concerns that many people do have about fraud. But I want you to respond to what Kevin Griffith, the vice chair of the Sarasota Democrats, said in Kate's story when he says the biggest issue is that they're going to overstate the problem and use that as a pretext for passing legislation that suppresses people's votes or makes it harder for people to vote. Could that be a result of this?
Well, I think one of the issues that comes up with the commission is that the states in the United States run the elections, not the federal government. So each state has its own system of elections that elect federal, state, local officials. There are between 7,000 and 8,000 local jurisdictions that conduct those elections, say in a presidential year. So I think that kind of divide between the states and the federal government, you know, I don't know that the federal government, it might be difficult for them to do that. It would have to come down to the states to try, I would think, legally to pass, you know, laws like that. But, you know, I certainly understand people's concerns, Kevin's concerns, as you're mentioning. We've heard a lot of them from voters. What I did in Sarasota County was all the emails that I got from voters, I sent every one of them to the Secretary of State and the Governor's office to make sure that our voters had their voices heard in Tallahassee.
So when voters call into your offices and express concern about what's happening now with this commission, is their concern mostly privacy issues in terms of their information being put out, or the fact that it could be suppressing the vote in some way?
The ones I've gotten, I would have to say 95% of them have been the secrecy issue. One of the problems is part of the information they were looking for was voting history, okay? Well, if the media would have been on top of this a little bit better and explained and killed some of the fear that your voting history is public. It doesn't tell you who you voted for, it just tells you which elections you did or didn't vote in. So there's a lot of information that's out there, and I think the media could have taken this story and clarified that this, in fact, is the letter from the commission, and it clearly states in there, if this information is legally available in your state and your public records laws, we'd like to have it, okay? But they're not asking for something that is illegal under the state of Florida laws to give away. And I think that the media could have done a better job of cooling that for the people. It's really sad when I have people call up and say, oh, you got to remove me from the voter roll. I don't, and we've been able to talk most of them out of that. You talk about suppressing the vote. that is suppressing the vote. When we have that fear out there and people want to deregister, that suppresses the vote.
Inadvertent consequences. So given the fact that both of you say that the president's 3 million illegal votes is really unlikely, is this commission a good idea or not?
Well, I would say that, you know, obviously there's a variety of opinions about whether it's a good idea or not. I guess the positive side is what Supervisor Bennett kind of talked about, is just the discussion about our democracy, about our system of elections in our community, in our state, in our country. I certainly think any time that we can talk about this here on your show, Alan, you know, what I read on Facebook, what people may be saying around their dinner table this evening, I think that that's important, that we understand more about this process and learn. Certainly transparency, learning more, I think certainly brings more security to the process. But again, I certainly understand people's concerns. The right to vote is one of our most important rights. As a supervisor of elections, personally, I think it probably is our most important right, and is foundational to all the other rights that we have. So to make sure that, that the voter registration and the system of elections are conducted fair, that they're accessible to everyone, that no one's unduly penalized in some way through this commission. I understand that. Now, whether this commission's the right way, I think Supervisor Bennett talked about ERIC earlier, which is a nonprofit consortium of states that volunteer their information to compare that database. And the supervisors in Florida asked the legislature for permission to have the state of Florida join this. It's a different approach to this kind of thing.
What is a bigger risk to our right to vote? This issue and whether or not those who are not registered or illegal vote, or what we've been hearing on the news about Russia poking and prodding our election databases in the last election, and concerns among both Democrats and Republicans on Capitol Hill that this was just a prelude to a more invasive attempt by the Russians in the next election.
Well, it's interesting because the commission is really a two-pronged deal. If we don't investigate our voting system, will we ever know if Russia actually interfered or not? So when they say, well, you shouldn't have this kind of a commission, then that would kind of take Russia off the table, and I don't think anybody wants that. So to not look at everything and try to find out, is our voting protected? Could Russia mess with it? I got to tell you, Russia would have a very, very difficult time. I'm never going to say it can't be done. Some 12-year-old kid would figure it out. But each of our systems in Florida are independent, and even the voting system at that particular precinct is independent from the next precinct and from the next machine. It would be very, very difficult. I'm not saying it can't be done. As I said, some kid will figure it out.
Is there a difference between trying to hack into ballot boxes or hack into voter rolls and manipulate it that way?
There is a difference in that, Alan. With as Supervisor Bennett just mentioned, we have a closed voting system. It's not an open network that's online. It's not on the internet. It's not connected to the internet. So each of our tabulators, the ballot box that connects to the ballot box, each of those tabulate ballots individually. So that's not something online. Now, voter registration databases and systems, the Florida voter registration system, we have to connect through the internet to transmit data back and forth and store that data. So certainly there would be more of a risk potentially, than with the voting system. It would be less likely.
The obvious question is what are supervisors of elections and the state doing to make sure that does not happen in future elections?
Well, I think the fact that we're all the supervisors can pretty much buy their own equipment. We don't have a national system. I hope we never get a national system. We have a national system. That is something that could probably be penetrated. The fact that each of us are independent and then each of our pieces of it would be very, very difficult to do. And so I'd like to see more of that. And I think that's the type of a thing that this commission, truly, if it looks at the total scope of the mission, could probably let people sleep easier on. I think there's just been too much concern about the public records that are already out there, and I think that it's tilted the conversation the wrong way.
Well, it seems like the commission itself is a little off track after, telling states, okay, don't send the data, and they have to delete the states that already sent the data. So do you both have confidence that this commission is going to get back on track and do the job that could be useful to us?
Well, I mean, we've heard, like you have, that that the commission asked the secretaries of state not to forward the data, and I read in the news that today that Secretary of State Ken Detzner here in Florida said that he had not transmitted the data yet, and that he wouldn't at this point because basically it's a public records request that had been rescinded, so they'd have to come back, I guess, and ask for the data. I think one of the things that have come up with this again is privacy, the public nature of the information that's out there. Kate mentioned in her segment before we started about doing a search engine check of your name, and you can find individuals' names and voter history, or Yahoo, or whatever you use. But one of the things that came up with this, I know with the supervisors in the last year, in Florida you can pre-register to vote when you're 16 or 17 years of age. And that information from those minors, that information is public also.
And I know that's something you both want the legislature to take a look at next year. We're going to have to take a quick break, and when we return, we'll have final thoughts from our guests, plus what some of our viewers are saying about last night's topic, the VA's response to veteran suicide. Stay with us.
Attention, Americans eligible for Medicare. Are you getting all the benefits you're entitled to? Did you know there may be money available to lower your medical prescription costs? Call Health Markets and we'll tell you if you qualify.
Hi. I'm Dr. Martin Jeetsi. It's a new Medicare year. That means more changes and more confusion. The key question is, what can you do now to ensure you get the care you need in the coming year?
Call Health Markets today. You may qualify to save money on prescriptions. We'll help you find plans that may cost less, cover more, and could even lower your prescription costs to increase your savings. We help you find all the benefits you're entitled to, and we do it at no cost.
Make sure you have what you need to get the care that's right for you.
Find out if you qualify to receive extra help with your prescriptions. Call the number on the screen now. Representatives are standing by.
We're losing exotic animals on a daily basis, and the ones that we have in captivity are really the ambassadors for their wild counterparts. I'm Clayton Rozier from the Big Cat Habitat and Gulf Coast Sanctuary, housing over 150 exotic animals that needed a great home. And if you love animals, please help them. Do it locally. Support your local no-kill shelters, your local wild animal sanctuaries. Make a difference where you can.
We answered the call of duty and left our homes to serve in far-off lands. Now, we answer another call, this time at home, in our own communities, to respond in times of chaos, to use our strength, our skills, and our experiences to bring hope amid devastation and destruction. Together, as a team of brothers and sisters, we're continuing our mission to make this country a little stronger and a little better each day. We are Team Rubicon.
Check out My Suncoast Dining on mysuncoast.com, your guide to the foodie lifestyle. ABC7's own Chef Judy serves up her favorite recipes, cooking tips and trends, dining blogs, step-by-step videos, and Suncoast Restaurant Guide. You'll find it all at mysuncoast.com/dining.
Welcome back. Is there any proof to back President Trump's claim of widespread voter fraud? If there wasn't fraud, then what's the harm in turning over the information to the voting commissioner? Our guests join us right now for final thoughts. And Mike, you were saying that you're almost in the situation where you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, because there are groups out there who balk at the public nature of the voter information that is out there right now.
It's very difficult, touching on what Ron said just a second ago, trying to protect the information. For example, in Florida, the pre-registered voters who vote at high school or are registered to vote at 16, 17, 18 years old, even though they're not voting yet, that information is out there. When we've tried to, the Florida legislature has tried to protect that information, hide that information, because you don't want your kids' information out there publicly. Well, then the foundation goes nuts because we're trying to hide. The sunshine laws get into the thing, and it's open government. When we've tried to, when people email my office, okay, they should understand that it's part of the public record. We will have their email address. We should protect that email address.
Well, Ron, wrap it up, because, you know, so many people will say, you know, on all sorts of issues, if you have nothing to hide, then just turn over the information. But obviously there is, you know, a flip side to that coin.
Well, yes, and that's what Mike was talking about. That's what I was talking about earlier with the privacy, the pre-registered voters. And I would just say, you know, one of the things that needs to be clear from local voters, the request from the commission wasn't to the local supervisors of elections, it was to the Secretary of State. So we couldn't control the release of that information if we wanted to. I just wanted to make that clear because it didn't come to us to begin with. But in the end, I think all supervisors, I know Supervisor Bennett and myself, I mean, you take the security of elections, the you know, having the sanctity of the voter rolls, all of that we take very seriously. And you know, so I just want the public definitely to know that.
All right, we appreciate it. We'll have to leave it there. But before we go, we want to share with you what some of our viewers are saying about last night's topic, veteran suicide prevention. An average of 20 veterans take their own lives each day. It has been a long problem plaguing the veteran community. Now the VA is launching a new program called Reach Vet to identify at-risk patients and provide them with mental health treatment. We asked you what you thought about the VA's care, and Cameron Tucker writes, the VA doesn't care at all about our vets, or else most of these problems wouldn't exist to the degree they do. And Ann St. George writes, it needs to be changed to where every vet, especially in from war zones, get the best care, particularly in job-related health issues. Well, what do you think about the President's Voting Commission? Join tonight's conversation by visiting our Facebook page at facebook.com/news@7. And FYI, you can watch past discussions. They're on demand. They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. Thanks to both our guests for being here tonight. Ron Turner is the Supervisor for Elections for Sarasota County, and Mike Bennett is the Supervisor of Elections for Manatee County. When we return, we'll have a final look at your weather, plus carrying out the death penalty. Governor Rick Scott is set to resume executions in Florida after an 18-month hiatus. Find out what opponents of capital punishment are saying about the move in our prime time headlines.
Anyone can jumpstart your car, but for free installation and $10 off Duracell Ultra car batteries, there's no one like Batteries Plus bulbs.
I'll install it myself.
I'd like you to do it.
Visit batteriesplus.com for a store near you.
I knew I could get myself out of this. I just needed some hope and some help.
I took the first step to recovery when I made the call.
If you're depressed, drinking, and using drugs, you may need help. And the Affordable Care Act guarantees coverage of substance abuse. Call the Addiction, Hope, and Helpline now for a free assessment.
I had problems just getting to sleep, drinking and using pills every night.
I feel like I'm losing control. I'm afraid I'll lose my job or even my family.
Are you losing hope? You can recover and get back on track. Call now for hope and help with proven, gentle recovery programs.
I never thought that I could be somebody who didn't drink and use drugs.
I have something to hold on to for strength. I'm in recovery, getting the help I need.
Call the Addiction, Hope, and Helpline now for a free assessment with someone who cares.
Call 1-800-764-8708. That's 1-800-764-8708.
Every child follows a path in life. For many, that path will lead them to a door that gives them a place to grow, to learn, to belong, a place to forge their future. Because while many doors open, these doors transform. They did for us. Support your local Boys and Girls Clubs. Great futures start here.
Explore amazing merchants on the Suncoast. Find great prices, products, and services. Go to mysuncoast.com to buy local today.
Your primetime headlines are coming up in a moment, but right now let's get a final check on our forecast from Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Thanks, Alan. A beautiful day. Look at this, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, nice, calm conditions. We have the east wind, and that always means calmer conditions in terms of the surf right near the beaches. So if you plan on going to the beaches tomorrow, similar conditions are anticipated. Look at that beautiful color, too. It looks like we'll see that as well tomorrow. But then notice the clouds coming in. Most of the rain missed right there at Casey Key, at least where this camera was. Passed to the south and to the north, and that's happens sometimes here in Florida, where your neighbor may get 2 inches and you may not get any at all. Well, some showers over the northeast and the east of us right now. And you see the heavy rainfall that was around earlier has since moved on. There's some big storms down south and east of Fort Myers, but I don't think they have enough energy to make it all the way over here. Although the rain is light along Longboat Key, we had a wind gust up to 40 miles an hour with some of the cells as they blew on through, but the rain ended in Parrish. It's ending in Palmetto now. Bradenton, just some very light rain, extending down to Longboat Key, even that is on the light side. A tropical wave has moved in. That tropical wave continues to move off to the west. It will be around again tomorrow, and it looks like we'll see similar conditions for us on, again, the Thursday. And it looks like 75 degrees right now. Dew point is at 73. Winds are out of the east-northeast at 7, and temperatures have cooled into the mid-70s to upper 70s. Whitney Beach at 78, Waterleaf 77, Rosedale at 77 degrees, and Kensington Park now at 76 degrees, and 77 in Venice, 78 in Port Charlotte, Rotunda at 77 degrees. Now the RPM forecast model showing those showers down to our south, kind of spreading off to the east. We'll see the skies clear after midnight, and then we'll start off with sunshine tomorrow with a good chance for some late day showers and storms. So I wouldn't cancel all your plans, but it looks to be a little later in the afternoon. Winds out of the east at 10 to 15 knots and a moderate chop on there. The bays and inland waters will see a moderate chop. We'll get back to more normal conditions with the west coast breeze developing in the afternoon on Friday and continuing to the weekend. The UV index, it will be at an 8. We'll have a few more clouds around tomorrow in the afternoon specifically. And low tide upcoming 10:45, a high at 4:37, sunset at 8:28, sunrise at 6:44. Scattered storms for the most part are over. Just some light showers lingering, and then tomorrow partly cloudy, good chance for afternoon storms, a high of 90. And then taking a look at the extended forecast, a 40% chance for storms on Friday. That jumps to 60% on Monday through Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. Al will be back with primetime headlines right after this. Stick around.
Are you Goodwill?
Yes, because when I donate
or shop at Goodwill,
I am creating a job.
I am Goodwill, yeah.
You studied hard, went to college, and achieved your dream, but it turned into a financial nightmare. If you have federal student loans and you'd like to reduce your payments, get more time, or have your loans completely eliminated, then we have good news. With one call to Student Loan Relief Services, you can find support and guidance. We've already helped thousands of people, and we can help you too. If you have $10,000 or more in federal student loans, you can qualify for payment extensions, payment reductions, or you may qualify to have your federal student loan completely forgiven. Call Student Loan Relief Services now to find out about your options. Take control of your finances and get out from under this burden. One of our student loan experts has the answers to your questions and great solutions to ease your financial burden. We're here for you. Call Student Loan Relief Services now.
Call 800-759-0203, 800-759-0203.
Are you a soccer mom or dad? Regardless of their age or experience level, when your kids play soccer or any other sport, there's one person on the sideline who is key to help recognize and seek medical care for sports-related concussion. It's you. You need to know the signs and symptoms of concussion, and you need to act if you think your child has been injured. Remember, when in doubt, sit them out. To learn more, go to cdc.gov/concussion. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004.
Northland Outdoors is about so much more than the biggest fish or the hottest hunting spots. All across the Northland, there are amazing people with incredible stories to tell. We're going to find those stories and share them with everyone.
Join us each and every week as we explore the Northland and experience some of the most exciting outdoor adventures in the country right here in our own backyard. This is Northland Outdoors.
Check out My Suncoast Dining on mysuncoast.com for Chef Judy's favorite recipes, cooking tips and trends, dining blogs, step-by-step videos, and Suncoast Restaurant Guide. You'll find it all at mysuncoast.com/dining.
Now for your primetime headlines, dozens of major tech companies today protesting online, opposing Trump administration proposals to roll back Obama-era net neutrality rules, all part of the internet-wide Day of Action to Save Net Neutrality. Here to explain is ABC's Mark Remillard.
Facebook, Twitter, Netflix, Google's Alphabet Inc., and dozens of other major technology firms holding fast in their opposition to proposed changes by the FCC of net neutrality rules. Here in the U.S., those rules prevent internet service providers from slowing down, blocking, or charging more for certain websites to be displayed faster, a cause HBO's John Oliver has been fighting for years.
Every subculture must join as one. Gamers, YouTube celebrities, Instagram models, Tom from MySpace if you're still alive. We need all of you, even, and I cannot believe I'm saying this, Donald Trump's internet fans on sites like 4chan and Reddit, the most powerful online trolls of all.
More than 80,000 websites out today in support of the internet-wide Day of Action to save net neutrality. Their landing pages displaying alerts, warnings, and videos urging the public to oppose the overturn of the FCC's 2015 rules. President Trump's head of the FCC wants to repeal those rules, saying he thinks they were unnecessary and harm jobs and investments. Others disagree, fearing without the rules, big companies with deeper pockets could pay to create fast lanes, with slow lanes in place for everyone else.
Net neutrality allows those of us who go online to go where we want and do what we want to do without interference. Recent polling shows that this is not just a left-right issue. It's not that Democrats favor net neutrality and Republicans oppose it.
The public has until mid-August to have their voices heard before the FCC's final vote. Mark Remillard, ABC News, New York.
Now to Washington, where a confirmation hearing is taking place for President Trump's pick for FBI director. Members of the Senate Judiciary Committee heard from Christopher Wray, who would replace fired Director James Comey. Wray says his loyalty is to the U.S. Constitution and not anyone in government.
You can't do a job like this without being prepared to either quit or be fired at a moment's notice if you're asked to do something or confronted with something that is either illegal, unconstitutional, or even morally repugnant.
Ranking Democrat Senator Dianne Feinstein says she will vote to confirm Trump's pick as the next FBI director. Death penalty opponents are speaking out as Florida prepares to hold its first execution in a year and a half. Last week, Governor Rick Scott signed a potential end to a hiatus by rescheduling the execution of convicted killer Mark James Asai for August. Asai was one of 2 death row inmates whose execution was postponed by a string of rulings against the state's death penalty sentencing law. Asai will be the first inmate executed under a new untested lethal injection process. Opponents argue there are too many questions surrounding the death penalty to move ahead with this execution.
Having had no executions in the state of Florida for 18 months reminds us all that executions are not necessary to keep society safe, and we believe that if non-lethal means like life in prison without parole are available without taking an additional life, then authority should limit itself to those means.
There are currently 363 men and 3 women on Florida's death row. Florida's struggling citrus industry is hitting its lowest level in 5 decades. The final citrus forecast for the year shows the volume of orange crops dropping 16% from the previous season. Grapefruit production did even worse, down 28% from last year, and the severe brought residential expansion. That's all the time we have for this evening. I'm Alan Cohn. Thanks for joining us. Have a good night.